and to answer them. Why do you read your Bible? And secondly, how do you read it? And those two questions are related, because the reason why you read your Bible will actually determine how you read it. Your method will come from your motive. And there are many different ways of reading the Bible. One is what I call the medicinal use of the Bible. Do you know what the medicinal use is? 10 verses a day keeps the devil away. You know the kind of thing? And you take your daily dose of medicine and you do your bit. It's very rare that if you only read the Bible in paragraphs that you get the message of the Bible. That's why I'm encouraging you to read the Bible a book at a time. I mean, which of you would read an Agatha Christie a paragraph at a time? I mean, by the time you got to the end of it, you'd have forgotten the beginning of it. The whole plot would be lost. And people really don't get the message of the Bible reading their little daily dose. You really need to read it a book at a time, as well as looking at smaller portions. On the whole, then, there are three approaches, say, to a book like Ezekiel. There is what I call the verse approach, when people are looking for a word for themselves. I'm tempted to call it the horoscope method of Bible reading. Do you know what I mean? You read it through until a verse fits your situation, and you've got your horoscope for the day. You know, you've got something to live by. It's not really how God meant the Bible to be used, but that is how many people actually use it. And of course, you have to go a long way through Ezekiel before you find a verse that leaps off the page. But that kind of, we'll call it devotional, so it's not too insulting, that kind of devotional Bible reading, trying to get a word for me for today, in a sense it's useful, but it's not the right way to read the Bible. You might get a word of comfort here and there and a word of guidance here and there, but essentially you're self-centered. You're reading the Bible for yourself. Then there are those who read the Bible for the sake of other people, especially preachers and teachers. They're looking for something they can preach on. And essentially they look not for verses, but for passages. And there are 4 such passages which leap out of the book of Ezekiel into preachers' hands, and they usually major on one of those 4. The most popular is chapter 37, dem bones, dem dry bones. The number of preachers who preached on those bones clickety-clacking coming together. That's probably one of the most popular. But there are 3 others I noted down, which I've heard frequently. Chapter 34 is a favorite chapter to preach at the induction of a new minister or pastor. I've been to so many inductions of a new pastor or minister coming to a church where Ezekiel 34 has been preached. It's about good shepherds and bad shepherds. And good shepherds going to search for the lost sheep and bad shepherds feeding themselves. And it's often used at services which are looking at pastors and the minister's job. And then there is chapter 47, but that is taken right out of context and used in an allegorical way. That's the chapter about the man finding a river and stepping into it up to his ankles, then up to his knees, and then up to his waist, and then finally swimming in it. And oh, that's been used by so many preachers. How deeply are you into the Spirit, you know? Are you swimming in the Spirit yet, or are you just paddling in the Spirit? And it's totally misused, but it's a very popular allegorical form of preaching. There's one more. That's chapter 18, which talks about the personal responsibility of each individual for his own sin. That instead of the fathers eating sour grapes and the children's teeth being set on edge and God punishing to the 3rd and 4th generation, Ezekiel introduces this very important principle that on the day of judgment you are only responsible for you. That each man is accountable because each man is responsible. That's a favorite theme of preachers from Ezekiel. Having looked at those 4 chapters, that's about it. And preachers who read this book to try and get a sermon usually finish up with one of those 4 and leave the rest alone. I want to encourage people to read the whole of Ezekiel, not for their own sake or for the sake of getting a message for others, but for the sake of getting to know God. Because that ultimately is the main reason for reading your Bible, so that you are familiar with God, that you know what kind of a God He is, and how He responds to us, and how He feels about us, and what He will do with us. It's to get to know God. And when you read the Bible to get to know God, every part of the Bible speaks to you. If you just read it, get a message for yourself, then an odd verse here and an odd verse there will come alive for you. If you're reading it for others, a passage here and a passage there will come alive for you. If you read it to get to know God, every single part will be alive for you.